Thank you.
It's a little like being groomed.
Yeah, the good and the bad thing, it's like you have to either be in here or sit and watch the TV out there to hear what you guys are up to. And it's like, dang, I was up in the editing room, so I really didn't get to, other than it sounds interesting. But
Sweet.
what? It's like, I missed it.
What's your name again?
I'm Glow Lady.
Glow Lady?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Jasmine.
Jasmine, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so the official name of your show is Revelations?
No, this is Tell-A-Vision.
Tell-A-Vision.
Yeah,
Television,
the
okay.
first season it was Revelations,
Okay.
revealing the truth of the matter.
Right, okay.
And this is Tell-A-Vision.
Tell-A-Vision, that's cool.
Yeah, and tomorrow, well, this whole weekend, I'm going to be at the conference, the Time for
The
Our
women-
Power
okay, cool.
Women's Conference. I'm going to be filming, so
Cool.
I'm all excited, and then we're going to do like a DVD. So, yeah, it's like,
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Right?
yeah.
The grumpy old men
So-
on the Mountain Express forum are very grumpy about what's
Jane
it?
Fonda?
Jane Fonda being there, yeah.
Well, it is interesting. I'd like to know why, she was chosen to be the keynote speaker, because there are a lot of, powerful women, why the controversial, other than, well, that'll bring some controversy and that'll get your attention.
Yeah, but
quicker.
I mean, I don't really feel like she's like been a prevalent controversial figure for quite some time. If I'm not mistaken.
Not for a good 20 years, but maybe I forgot to mention old grumpy men running Mountain Express.
Right.
Well, she has a couple of things that she has going on. I should go get it. She has a couple of things over in Georgia for women, young children, or young women. I'm gonna have to read up on everything that she's doing. But, yeah, it's like, what is that
Do your
called?
homework.
Pre-kindergarten?
No. Well, I just took the course on pre-production. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Right, the planning.
Whoa.
Yeah, the media test. That was like, wait, oh.
Do you know what it is?
Time for a 420 roll.
It is time for the 420 roll.
We've got 420 sign
Well, I guess I'm going for a walk. Where are we going?
Need a
A
big
safety meeting,
flashing
perhaps?
button to hit or something like that.
There we
Love
go.
that.
Now, would you prefer that I have more of Bill for this particular one, or
I think we've had enough of Bill.
you've had enough of Bill? Okay.
Anything of my sister doing any music? Or?
No,
Hey,
She
how are
always
you?
cusses.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We're talking about kidnapping Billy Corgan.
Is this your master or
I
is this
think
your
it's
own?
laden
I'm
with
not too
profanity.
sure.
Who knows? Okay. Yeah.
I can show you the last night of the Jolly Rouge.
Oh, wow.
Would you like to
Okay.
see
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He got the outside bits, which were better, I think, than the inside.
Okay.
It depends on like the last night or what they said was the last night, which wasn't really the last night.
As I understand it, the locks on the door that tomorrow morning after.
All right.
This was better than television.
Uh, 420 reel, right?
Roll.
Roll. 420 roll. Okay, good.
Good morning. Welcome to the Pleasure Saucer.
Always, Pride Theater and Private Fire.
Watch The Casey Waters Show, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on URTV. To get interesting, eccentric, philosophical presentations, and artwork by Judson Laird, which is manipulated using interesting graphic art techniques.
Hey John, how are you doing?
I'm good. Say, you're watching the 420 roll.
You're watching the 420 roll.
Right.
What is that?
Takes a long time. It takes a long time to heal. Broken heart. Darling, when you were mine, made me feel so fine. Baby, right from the start. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to heal. Broken hearts. And if I could go back in time, if I could go back in time, you know I would. No, I would. takes a long time. It takes a long, long time to heal. Broken heart. And if I could go back in time, you know I would. You know I would.
We are YUK, you're watching the 420 roll. Like not very. Oh, Joe, you're so hot. That's my baby, Joe. Sorry, that happened too many times around. Don't bury your dick. That's why you have leather panties. He does have leather panties. I'm not kidding. That's not That's fucking hot. No, you wouldn't say that. You would say that. Yeah, hit him, burn him, maim him.
Plan it a little bit more. I remember this one scene in which, you know, they had somebody giving testimony as flying
Yeah.
over the planet. Like little things like that. But on the other hand, yeah, a lot of the original Solaris.
What I found interesting about the original Solaris, I watched it with a Bulgarian friend of mine.
Okay.
Named Alex. Great fellow. Morals, I'll get out, but great fellow.
Oh, yeah, I know. The Alex the artist? Guy that did.
No.
Different Alex.
This is a different Alex. This is Alex from Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alex, who was a fellow volunteer with me in Ben.
Okay.
Yeah, very different Alex.
Okay.
You trust the female members of your family with Alex, the artist from Nashville. You would not do this with Alex.
Right. Now that we have that clarification made, I will file that away.
So he showed me the great Russian science fiction film, which is the original Solaris. And I remember it was about an hour shot of the guy driving. Do you remember that? Just it was like they put the kid. It was like doing a Rapid Ralph with a more
Yeah, it
boring
wasn't
city.
really. It wasn't really an hour, but just
It felt like
it.
it.
Yes.
Ugh.
I mean, it was probably only a few minutes, but dear lord, was that necessary?
No, it wasn't.
Although I really liked some of the scenes they found to shoot some of the footage. Some great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of the scenery, some of the.
The found
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
they put, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Although really, if you want to get down to it, with a good editor, that entire story could get down to one Outer Limits episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, you could. But on the other hand, it's interesting stuff. And Solaris is one of those things that you get the information as you can. Like I really, when I first got to Asheville and found Broadway video, that's when I really started
right.
educating myself in like old science fiction movies.
Oh, really?
Some
How
I'd
nice
seen
that
all
must have
over the
been.
place. It was
that
very
must have,
nice.
no, really, that must have been like an exciting.
It was glorious.
Yeah.
So I had already seen the movie Event Horizon in the theater before I ever saw Solaris. So I saw Solaris and a few things fell into place. Like that's what they ripped off.
Badly too.
Yeah, I mean the best thing I can say about the movie Event Horizon is like they didn't kill any of the black guys in like really stupid ways.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's essentially the.
I mean, one of the black characters was one of the three survived, and Lawrence Fishburne's character died the hero's death.
Yeah.
Best thing I can say about that movie.
Which actually, I hate that movie, but now you mentioned that's probably a very laudable.
No,
statement.
I'm serious. I found that very laudable about the movie. I mean, especially since I love the new Battlestar Galactica, but wow, they really just don't have any of the classic black positive role models that
Could
the
you
original
pass me some
Battlestar
of
Galactica
that?
did.
This is true.
The white tea.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Katie.
Katie, pleasure to meet you. John Robinson.
John.
Matt Howard.
I'm Matt Howard.
We're together, so science fiction is going to come up a lot here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Okay.
If John and I find ourselves with like no pressing matters immediately to discuss, the conversation will almost invariably drift into science fiction.
I agree with you about Battlestar Galactica. On the other hand, think if they had done the tie from this one as
I
like-
agree completely that you would have they would have gotten sued or something or gotten protested.
Yeah.
But
But Battlestar Galactica has really gone downhill, hasn't it?
No.
No, you like the new format or whatever it is.
I'm still all about it. I will freely admit that if you look closely at the star scenes of Battlestar Galactica, you can see great constellations of sharks that they have jumped over with their ship repeatedly. But I'm still a big fan of that.
I will make this statement. There are a few things I would have done differently, and when you really stop and think out the entirety of the plot, a bunch of androids who have lost half of their species and they're all trying to find God. Kirk and Spock could have settled that in 43 minutes. But
Well said. Well said.
But yeah, I mean totally. I mean, seriously, just cut Kirk loose on the Cylons and have him talk. He's talked at least 4 computers, possibly 5, to death in the old Star Trek. Literally. But so I mean, overall, it's kind of silly. But if you look at what they're trying to do, they're doing it really well. I mean, they set out to do a
This is your
specific
cup
vision.
over there, unless he's.
They set out to perform a specific vision, and they're doing a very good job of sticking with it.
I agree.
So,
No, it's all good.
I'll give them that credit.
There.
Brown sugar cubes.
Yes,
but
there are
I miss the old Boomer. I really do. I really liked the old Boomer.
Boomer.
Yeah, the old Boomer.
What's
Really
old?
cool, suave black dude. Flying a space fighter. Loved it. Great character.
All right.
And it pretty much, instead they had an Asian Cylon chick who eventually is just sort of
An
faded in the
Asian
background.
Cylon.
Who
chick.
was replaced by another Asian Cylon chick of the same model. So it gets complicated.
Okay.
It saves,
Yeah.
casting different people and all that.
But I'm gonna.
Although you have to admit Grace Park is great in the role.
Oh yeah, I mean.
There's not a false note in any of the characters.
I know, but I'm criticizing the modern Battlestar Galactica. My 2 biggest criticisms: 1, the Cylons should have gotten ray guns. I've gotten used to the Colonials having projectile weapons. Cylons should have had ray guns. 2, no positive black role models in new Battlestar Galactica. That's my 2 criticisms.
I agree with those.
So, Chris, what do you think about the
Yeah, cut me
the
off.
Cylons? Very, very, very Asheville, don't you think? The Cylons? Yes. Tell us. I want to get Chris. Chris, what are some of your views of Asheville? Here, move that microphone over there, by Chris. What would you say denotes Asheville as being special or different than the rest of the world? Besides being the happiest town in America, you're gonna have to drag up a new chair or something. That chair that can be put over there on that box. Move the bird.
Yeah, watch the bird.
Give Chris the bird.
Really be serious about
Yeah.
this.
Well, yeah, slide that. Yes, scoot up this way, and I'll get everybody on. What makes What do you see as makes Asheville special or different from the rest of the
From
world?
my personal perspective, I was born and grew up in, your average country club town,
What town was that?
Greenville, North Carolina.
Oh, Greenville. I often like to what is it called? Compare Asheville and Greenville as being two southern towns of I think approximately the same size.
Roughly. Asheville's way more spread out. But yeah, and I was just born into this society where there's only like one perspective. It's just like you go to school, you go to college, get a degree, start your career.
And be a good citizen.
Exactly.
Be a good citizen.
Don't question these
what more
laws are here for a reason,
Right. What more could be expected of you? What more could you want than to grow up and be a good citizen, a member of the Hive?
Exactly. So you can start your family in that same town, get memberships at the club and, be happy.
Exactly. And
But
whether you like it or not.
and then I moved here and it was like immediately just all these different ideas and perspectives all at once just thrown at you. And that's why I love this.
Give us a couple. What are some of the top three? Some of the three in your top 10 of ideas that were thrown at you. Did you find them awakening or something like that?
Awakening? I'd never really, in my town, even just liberals were crazy, like there wasn't
There's a few of those
even
here in this
further
town too.
even further left didn't even exist, outside of Democrats and Republicans. And
We do make more people seem sane than
Right.
other towns.
So would you be
Yeah.
closer to an anarchist, perchance?
I don't. Everyone's just. I'm on TV.
Yes, you are.
I don't like to use terms, but I definitely associate and I'm sympathetic to anarchism and true libertarianism. And
I like using labels. So you can mix labels like you can mix flavors for ice cream. I'm a
But you do it too much, and you're just like, what is this? I don't even remember what this tastes
A
like.
good 5 minutes of just sort of rapping about the labels that mix up to make you. I think.
So you would be, for instance, a conservative Nazi anarchist.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Why conservative? Why did I get labeled a conservative?
We're a monarchist.
Sort of a rum raisin, if you will.
I'm a narco-aristocrat.
Narco-aristocrat.
Wow,
That's
I believe
that's
rule.
a doozy.
I believe rule by the best, and the person who's best able to rule you would be you. And I believe while you're doing so, working is for the suckers. I am the king of me.
Suckers, slaves, in other
Well,
words?
And let me just qualify this saying I am a humongous sucker right now, but I can hold the ideal of where we're to go to.
I've been really delighted. The show's not quite over yet, but I've been really delighted to have you two on the show.
It's been pretty awesome.
I'm so happy that
Well,
you
I
came.
mean, we really appreciate the time too, and this is actually really, really fun. It's like, cool.
That it is.
I'm totally pleased to have.
Is this
not
place
not
not
that
great?
I'm displeased to have anybody else on the
Yeah,
show
but we're routine.
that are often on the show.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that my new guests today
You people.
turned out to be very good.
Thank you.
You guys have heard my spiel on anarchy.
Yes.
That it will inevitably lead to strongman government because
Well, that's what we have. That's what we have now. See, this is something that people have been pointing out to me. Whether it's the Asheville police force or the town or whatever, they're just another gang.
Well, on the subject of strongman government, if you genuinely look at what we've got compared to a world perspective, I'd say our strongman government is fairly light when you want to compare them to, say, guys like Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe.
True. I understand.
God, that guy is nuts.
Yeah, Marlboro Lights will kill you
slower
than regular Reds will.
But irregardless, but irregardless, we have it comparatively easy. I mean, yes, there are many flaws, and dear God, do I hate our president. But comparatively speaking, there are people could be a whole lot worse off in terms of strongman government. I think if there was a genuine collapse of government, or if there was no sort of central organization, inevitably I think whoever has the most friends with the most guns would move into that position because there's absolutely nothing else stopping them. Sooner or later, I think that would happen. Because that's pretty much what always seems to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Afghanistan. I mean, Afghanistan really doesn't have much of central authority, nor does Somalia, and boy, are there plenty of warlords.
Well, if everybody's so in our country, if it's gone the way it has with Bush and stuff, and everybody is so apathetic, and won't take this regime out and put them through the guillotine like they should. Then there's nothing like maybe a good anarchy running the streets to make people care again, perhaps, and pay attention.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of what you're talking about with anarchy here, is some popular misconceptions about anarchy, and a lot of the flaws that you're discussing are flaws that you would find inherent to any system that involves governing of millions and millions of people. When you involve that many people, your system is only as competent or as strong as the dumbest person involved. I mean, look at this country, for example.
Right, but for God's sake, why would anyone elect him, that dumbest person, president, and put? Never mind.
Well, let's bring that up with the Diebold Corporation responsible for those electronic voting machines. But when you have, the popular misconception of anarchy versus actual anarchist principles, and some of those fantastic writers and people that were that call themselves anarchists that also did things like break ground for unions and things like that to happen. When you look at organizations like the Asheville Community Resource Center, which was considered an anarchist organization, just because you're eschewing some sort of government system doesn't mean that you're going to be disorganized. It doesn't mean that you're not still putting forth some sort of methods of organization, and that in itself can become a semantic debate amongst anarchists. Is we are making these organizations that could be akin to a small government, and so then it just it's one big gray area. But I really think you're kind of doing disservice to anarchists and the concept of anarchy by saying, well, it would just degenerate into this and that. Well, of course, if there was any sort of anything, it would just degenerate. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to accomplish with this workers' collective would degenerate if we didn't have organization, if you didn't understand, well, hey, you're good at this, you're good at this. Let's dovetail our skills. Let's make something happen. Let's not make you do something that you're not actually feeling comfortable with or actually all that competent at, and that's okay. I think that's a lot of what anarchy or anarchists and these anarchist systems, if you will, invite is really, it kind of takes a lot of self-exploration and responsibility for your own actions and saying, well, where do I stand? What am I good at? And what do I believe? Instead of saying, well, we're this kind of organization and we're looking for this kind of person. That's, to me, that's never been what it's about. But again, it's just an opinion, like yours.
If we could just remix that with a dance beat underneath it, that would be the coolest thing ever.
And your rebuttal, Mr. Howard.
My rebuttal would be, well, as you just pointed out, any system is ultimately limited by the weakest link in it. And what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about small collectives. I'm talking about the grand scheme of things. I'm talking about on a large scale.
Let's
there
talk about
would
large
be
scale.
On a large scale.
Okay, let's talk about Afghanistan, the country that you mentioned as your poster boy for what happens when anarchy rules.
Yeah, I mean, there ain't much good to say about Afghanistan right now.
And
would you say that anarchy? Would you say that Afghanistan is an anarchy?
No, you would not, because Afghanistan has been nothing since the last 50 years, but a series of, as you said, strongman governments.
Exactly.
Strongman government replacing strongman government replacing strongman government.
Right.
There's no anarchy there anywhere.
Right.
Anarchy and chaos are not actually
Well,
synonyms.
what I'm pointing out is that effectively
are on a
in
good
practice there
day.
is no centralized legal system, there is no centralized social system really there. I mean, it's just there are niches in
Well,
which,
neither
for
is
all
there
the
in New
words,
Orleans
for
when you
everything
get
that's
down to it
labeled, there are
right now.
niches in which people, through force, essentially carve out what they want.
Okay. And why is that being labeled as anarchy?
Well, it depends on how you want to label anarchy. I mean,
I wanna label it
ultimately,
like-
if you want to, I view anarchy as, first and foremost, there's no centralized system, there are no hard and fast rules, and there are times in which I very much hate rules, and I'm very akin to sort of like view them as suggestions myself.
Okay.
But I'm just more than a little nervous at what would happen if there really was a fundamental breakdown of centralized order in our society. I think it would go flying apart at the seams.
I mean, are you nervous about what happened in Katrina? Are you nervous about the flooding in the Midwest that is now spreading down the Mississippi and FEMA is not equipped for it and these levees are going to continue breaking? Are you worried that these
Well-
infrastructures are in fact breaking down in front of us and that we are ranked 37th internationally for our education system?
I'm
You
kind of-
should be worried because
I'm
it is
worried
breaking
about all
down
of
and
that.
it's not running well, and that's again chaos or incompetence or whatever. But
And one might
Not
say that
anarchy.
rather than being something that centralized government is put there to be a bulwark of, this is instead the inevitable conclusion of centralized government. When you get centralized government, you get Katrina.
Now, what the thing is, when I talk about centralized government, I think our government is genuinely too large and unwieldy. I personally don't think
I would
large
agree with
nations
that.
work. I mean, you want to talk about secessionism, and while I do roll my eyes, I actually happen to agree with you that if this country did break apart into smaller nation states,
Okay.
every small area would probably run a whole hell of a lot better.
So you're positing that there is some optimum size of geography and population.
Oh yeah, this country's too big to be genuinely
Okay, but I
wieldy.
just want to follow that thought. You're positing that as long as there's not too many people, as long as the area is not too big, there is a size where government would work great.
Government will never work great. I'm aware of this fact.
Okay.
It can do okay sometimes.
Okay, so are you saying then that there is a event horizon of population and geography where going smaller than that would be more trouble than it's worth?
What do you mean going smaller than that? Like, if you go too small, would it be like completely pointless? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is, if North Carolina saying the heck with everybody else and becoming the nation of North Carolina would be a good thing, why? And then let's say further on, Western North Carolina saying, the heck with this, we're going to form a country. We like you, we'll trade with you, we'll send people back and over. We'll even have little games between ourselves, but we're still going to be our own separate political entity. If that would be okay, where is it too small? Where would it be that would be too small? Because that's where you're saying that government is good.
John, if
on
I
that
had the
level.
answer to these questions, I would be a world ruler right now.
Okay, so you don't know. No one does.
Nobody really knows.
No one really knows. But you have this intuitive sense that there is something that is too small.
Well, I think there's something that would be too small. Sure.
But John aspires to king, so he's looking for some information here.
John did not aspire to king.
Now let me
The
point
term
out
is
that
God Emperor.
Maybe neighborhood.
there is nothing about our current government. There's nothing about President Bush that inspires me with any sort of confidence whatsoever. But dear God, can I envision things getting a whole lot worse?
Okay, but let's go back to your thought. Let's go back to let's say there is a minimum political unit. We'll call it the community. If you get smaller than the community, things just don't work. Okay.
Don't be afraid to chime in here.
Yes, I mean,
yeah. Well,
Well, you have to wait for dead air.
I mean, I don't think it's dead when it's this hot now.
the question then becomes, how would that community be organized?
What, you're saying that there wouldn't be enough of butchers and bakers and candlestick
No,
makers?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about political organization. That's economic organization.
Well, don't you kind of have that in suburbs anyway?
Well, not according to the suburbs. I mean, the suburbs.
Well, I think all that really comes down to a game of semantics within community and organization and politics and socioeconomic issues. It's all a mishmash. You know, it's semantics. Are you calling it political science? Are you calling it sociology? Are you calling it psychology? It's a mishmash. When you get to a level of community, I think it's dependent on the community, just like it's dependent on the individuals. I really couldn't see any of us saying, hey, I'm going to move to a strongly Baptist town in Alabama and try to do some community work there, because they don't want us, they don't want that work, you know, and there they would probably want educational systems that are more faith-based or whatever, whereas in a community like this, for example, you know, the different organizations, it doesn't necessarily have to be political so much as what are the needs of my community? Well, gosh, there's a lot of moms that homeschool. Maybe we should look into something like that. Gosh, there's a lot of hungry people. Gosh, there's a lot of people growing things in their yards in the suburbs, which doesn't necessarily, you know, you don't have, I don't think in other places there are as many people growing, say, tomatoes in their front yards everywhere, and just kind of like.
To our detriment. Right?
Yeah, and so honestly, I mean, are you, you know, when you say political, what do you mean? Are you running with the banner of abortion or no abortion? You know, are you taking these hot button issues?
Good morning. Welcome to the Pleasure Saucer.
Always Cry Theater and Crowded 5.
And his gang, are they the same like gangs that throw gang signs?
I think I could take him in a one-on-one fist fight.
You think you could?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Probably. He's looking pretty decrepit these days.
I think Koala Bear with the flu could take him on one fist fight.
And on the other hand, I mean, say you want, but at least the feds didn't throw him in jail.
Yeah.
One good thing you can approve of the feds doing.
Is throwing him in jail?
I enjoy seeing cops go to jail.
Well, because they're not really people. I would never wish that on a person.
I enjoy seeing cops go to jail, but I noticed during the Bobby Medford trials and stuff like that, they showed it on the news, you know, on TV, and I was watching TV, and they showed Bobby Medford going to his trial, and they showed him walk in the front door of the courthouse. Have you ever been to court in
You can't do
in
that.
this county?
Yeah.
Did you walk in the front door of the courthouse, or did you?
No, we have to go through the side door where all the other serfs go.
Well, Bobby didn't go through the side door. Bobby went in the front door of the courthouse, as he always has, and that made me think that probably his trial went the same way. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That everything operates the way as it always has.
Good old boy networks aren't going anywhere just because Bobby Medford made an ass out of himself on the paper.
I'm conflicted about the whole Bobby Medford thing. I think he should go to jail for a variety of reasons. But remember, the essential reason he went to jail was because the state has a stranglehold on gambling, and the kind of gambling that he involved in was illegal.
Right.
That he went to jail over something I don't think should be illegal is always a bit of a stick in the craw for me.
No, that's hard. I mean, that's when it comes back down to, you know, arguing semantic points, because, I mean, people are like, oh, it's just a game of semantics, and words can have these various definitions, but, well, language is actually how we communicate.
No,
and
look
a game
at
is,
yeah, keep talking, but look at the TV screen. I'm sorry.
but, you know, semantics, the English language, that is how we communicate. That is the basis of human communication. So playing a game of semantics and getting down to it and really arguing the finer points of the language that you speak and the parameters within it are important. So yes, about.
Keith Thompson. I'm president of Asheville Civitan Club this year. I'd like to invite each and every one of you to join us for the upcoming television series Spirit of Civitan TV. It's going to be on URTV, and we're going to be covering some of the important issues affecting our community. We're going to be meeting some of the civic leaders who are making a difference every day in the lives of our community, making things better for our children and grandchildren, making this a better place in which to live. So we hope you will be able to join us and watch our series as it comes forward. Thank you.
So how many people have been reading or following anything about the Asheville Quiet Zone in the papers? Show of hands. If anybody's been reading any of the comments that people have been leaving on the online forum, it's a little less than flattering. I hope to explain some of the ideas behind the whole Quiet Zone and My specialty has to do with noise, and so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the noise aspects of this and some of the other the political issues that exist. The reason why I got started with this whole idea of the quiet zone is that I live in a house just above the Biltmore Avenue crossing. It's an old house, has no air conditioning. In the summertime, I love to have the windows wide open, helps keep us cool. Last summer, my 4-year-old daughter, it was like having a newborn, because every night at 3 o'clock in the morning, the train horn would go off, and it'd wake her up. And she'd cry and be all miserable and have to put her back to bed. So I decided if I could do anything about that, I'd feel like a hero. So that's how this whole concept got started. My neighbor across the street, Ed Harris, and I started working on this idea, and it's just been kind of snowballing ever since. Now, the Asheville Quiet Zone group, I've heard some people call it a coalition. It's basically a bunch of people who've come together with an equal interest in instituting the quiet zone, and I'll explain what that is. And we're basically, I've heard some people say that it's the Biltmore estate that's involved and all this, and it's really just a bunch of concerned citizens and a couple of businesses who want to make something happen. And we recently got teamed up with Riverlink, because Riverlink has a very strong media engine, and they're just a powerful organization, so it was a good combination. Now, why do we want a quiet zone? Well, for my personal interest is to make the train horns quieter right through the center of town. Whenever they cross a rail crossing, a grade crossing with a road, they're supposed to blow their horns. And it's a very good idea because it makes it safer. It makes it safe. It warns people they're coming through. But there are ways you can make it safer without needing the horn, and so that's the idea behind the quiet zone. Another important thing is that the rail runs right through the heart of the city, and there's a lot of concern these days about affordable housing and about urban sprawl and about slope development and all of this. And if we can reduce the noise right through the heart of the city, you'll open up a surprising amount of real estate that can be developed, and it'll reduce traffic, it'll reduce sprawl, all kinds of things like that. And finally, you actually make yourselves open to some HUD funding by reducing the rail noise. The HUD has specific limits about noise, and the rail eliminates a large area of the city for HUD funding. Now, the big question is, what is a quiet zone? I've heard a lot of people accuse me and Riverlink of trying to kill people. You're going to kill people when they get hit by the train. The truth is that a quiet zone is really a safety issue. In 2005, the FRA passed a bunch of rules basically regulating how trains blow their horns. And they made specific limits on the amplitude of the horn and how far they blow them and all sorts of things like that, because it used to be a local ordinance and now it's a federal ordinance. They also put in place a process by which communities can create zones where the trains do not blow their horns. And this only happens when the grade crossings are updated and upgraded. And what that means is that you have to make the grade crossings so safe that it is impossible for some numbskull to drive around the barrier and, oh, I'm going to beat the train, and, you know, and then pow, get hit by the train. You make the grade crossing impossible for that to happen. So each grade crossing within the intersection has got to be made very safe. And they do this by putting massive gates down. You have to build up the median. So it's a very sharp median, so a guy with a big SUV can't drive up and around and get over onto the tracks. So in the end, what you end up with is a zone for the train that is safer than it was even with the horns, and it's quieter. So it's kind of a win-win situation. The specifics of the Asheville Quiet Zone is going to be 10 grade crossings from the north at the Pearson's Bridge crossing down through town to the Glendale Avenue crossing. It's about 5.5 miles. And here's a map. So up at the north, there's the Pearson Bridge crossing, and you go down along the river until you get down toward the stockyard and the roundhouse, and then it heads east over Biltmore Avenue. That's the one that I'm all concerned about. And it continues all the way. There's a slight spur, a couple grade crossings, and over to Glendale Avenue. So the goal would be to improve the safety of every one of these crossings. So this is my little rendition. This is actual noise concert. So there's a train coming along. Makes a turn, goes by the river. Now it comes towards the Biltmore Avenue crossing. And whoa! And then my daughter goes, wah! And then she goes back to sleep. So